Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my 2 informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I had a video pointed out to me by other people, so I went and checked it out. And let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about it. Alright, Muscle Metrix, who seems to be getting a lot of views these days. His channel subscribers seem to be growing slow, but you know, it is what it is. You'll get there eventually, brother. I made a video about G4P in the industry and the G4P Kingpin. Now, I need to remind him, Seth Rogen, I'm still calling you Seth Rogen Bodybuilding. I think that's a good name for him. He looks like Seth Rogen. I kind of like the kid, though, to be honest. So, Seth, you kind of said in the video you didn't see anyone else talking about this, and it's like when you made the video, everyone sent it to me because I've been talking about this for years. I've been actually saying that pro bodybuilding is essentially a gay prostitution ring. And I don't mean that as an insult, I'm just saying that's what it is. And it's been that way a really long time, going all the way back to Joe Weider. Joe Weider started this. There have been stories about that circulating for decades. In fact, even in the 80s, there was a white paper done on this. I need to get a copy of that. Brittany's trying to get a copy of that for me because she had read it a few years back when she was doing her undergrad in psychology. And that they had done a white paper on this in the 80s because she had done a research project with some men's health stuff that was related kind of to body dysmorphia and stuff in young men and bodybuilders and stuff. She had done some actual research on that for her undergrad. So she had came across that, and I remember even saying that they were looking at the situation of, some researchers were looking at the closet homosexuality in the competitive bodybuilding world. And in the bodybuilding world itself, they were actually looking at it and studying it, had done a bit of research on it, as well as some of the possibilities of the sexual favors going on. Some of that got into the data. So this has been known since the 80s. Like, actual researchers were looking into this stuff back then. This is really old news. Really old news. But Seth here made the video, and he talked about a story. And as he put it in the story, he said, you know, it's just a fictional story. It's just a fictional story. I'm a pathological liar, which is, again, decent defense. Probably where he lives, that'll probably be a good defense against suing, so I can respect that. Of saying that, you know, he's heard all these stories about, what was the guy's name? Ed Connors? A very, very rich millionaire in the industry who pretty much paid pro bodybuilders to live with him, do favors and everything. And he had a friend, a guy he knew who he was buying his gear from, who actually had received money from this guy for stuff. And, you know, and he's shocked that more people aren't talking about this. And the reason they don't talk about it is because only a few people are willing to talk about it and no one else. It's a dirty secret. A dirty secret. I've been talking about it. To see a little bit talked about it. Matt Ogus talked about it a little bit because he got sucked a little bit into the lifestyle for a while. Boston Lloyd's talked about it a little bit. I've talked about this quite a bit, and it's one of the reasons I tell guys to stay out of this industry. You don't want to get involved in bodybuilding. You don't want to do it. This is not the sort of lifestyle you want to get into. Don't get involved in it. The scene is not what you think it is. But he talked about this guy who had different people live with him, that he had heard that Jay Cutler lived with him for 5 years. That even B-Pack, who's still out there, he's got his own YouTube and everything, had worked for this guy and had done stuff. But these are the stories that he heard. Now, can we prove any of these stories? No. Is it certain that these stories are true? No, they're rumors. And we all hear these rumors. We all hear these rumors because we've all known people. If you're in the iron game long enough and you meet enough bodybuilders, and you will, if you're a hardcore lifter, you are going to meet bodybuilders. You're going to meet competitive bodybuilders. You're going to meet guys who have done some of this sooner or later who will tell you about it. It's a matter of being in the iron game long enough. I've known about this. The first time I started hearing about this was, I think, around 03. So, God, 14, 15 years ago I knew about this. That's when I found out about it. Started kind of seeing some of it firsthand. There are guys doing this. This is par for the course. And here's what you have to think about. When you start thinking about bodybuilders, and some people aren't going to like this. I'm sorry, guys. A lot of serious bodybuilders are lazy people. They might have a work ethic in the gym, but they might not. I mean, a lot of them, when you look at it, they don't train that hard. They might grunt and yell when they're doing curls and everything, but they don't really train that hard when you compare them to other athletes. And again, hard's a very relative term. And even outside of that, most of them don't want to be very active. Outside of that, they need to be sleeping, eating, recovering, so that they can grow. All right, that tends to be their lifestyle. As a general rule, and there are exceptions to every rule, a lot of bodybuilders are lazy outside of the gym. The other thing is, if they get involved in this really young, what life skills do they develop? If you have someone who has a lifestyle that requires them to be in the gym 2 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, all right, they dedicate that much time to the gym. They have to sleep a lot. They've got to eat all these meals through the day. Their life starts to revolve around this. It can actually limit their ability to develop other skills. In other words, maybe they can be personal trainers, but most bodybuilders, because the ones who are successful at bodybuilding tend to be genetically gifted. What do we know about genetically gifted people? They sometimes make the worst coaches and trainers because they don't have to learn as much. They respond to everything. They respond to everything. So someone who's been, say, a D1 athlete may not always make a good coach. They're too gifted to know what's going to help anyone other than D1 athletes. So a lot of these bodybuilders, they don't even learn how to train other people because they're genetically gifted. And they started using drugs really early on. A lot of them didn't learn the basics of training. How many bodybuilders out there don't know anything about training? Like seriously, nothing about real sport science. Really common. So they can maybe be trainers. They work at a gym. A lot of them don't develop other skills because they get involved in this too early. They don't develop skills that are going to pay for the sort of lifestyle they want. Because the problem is bodybuilders have to pay the same bills everybody else does. They have rent, they have car notes, utility bills, all that stuff. They got to buy clothes. They got to have all this stuff. Right? They have to have a place to live. You got to pay a gym membership. In addition to that, the food bill. 5,000 clean calories a day, or eating 300 or 400 grams of protein a day, and eating clean, healthy food. That sort of calories is going to give you an enormous grocery bill. Since they tend to be very picky in their dietary choices, that starts raising the bill. When you consider the quantities of food they need, that bill starts going up. Their grocery bills tend to be very, very high. And you start throwing all the drugs in the mix, right? That bill can get very, very high, particularly when things like growth hormone and stuff start going in. But even then, even if they're not using a lot of stuff yet, they're using very basic things that are cheaper, that can still be hundreds of dollars a month. It might not be thousands yet, but it's hundreds of dollars a month. When you put all of this grocery bill, lifestyle bills just to exist onto someone who has minimal skills, they have an expensive lifestyle in terms of food, in terms of time, in terms of drugs, and they don't have a six-figure skill already. They don't have a skill that's going to make them $100,000 a year, or at least $60,000 or $80,000 a year. They may not be able to afford the bodybuilding lifestyle. But what do they have? They got a body. They got a body. And you guys would be shocked at how much gay dudes will pay for things. All right, you need to understand that even August admitted when he was doing cam shows for gay dudes, he was making thousands of dollars a month. He said he was making $3,000 to $4,000 a month doing cam shows. How much do you think some of these guys are paying bodybuilders and buff dudes like that to do real stuff? Like he's had people pay him money to flex his bicep and spit on it. He had a guy pay him a couple $100s to eat burritos on camera, just to eat food. There are dudes out there paying $1,000 or more for sometimes one night with these guys. All right. In addition to all the muscle worship sessions and everything else, there's a lot of this going on. It's a big part of the industry, and it makes sense when you consider that most bodybuilders have a very expensive lifestyle. They have less free time than a lot of other people, and they don't have many skills. How do you think they can afford to live? In my experience, only several types of people go into serious hardcore bodybuilding. People who are already very financially well off when they start, people who sell drugs for a living, or people who sell their bodies for a living. That's who goes into bodybuilding. There's no money in it till you make it to the top. It costs you a fortune. So what you see when you look at this is you see this whole lifestyle revolving around this, and then you see the party lifestyle that's associated with it also. You've seen Jerry Ward talk about that even. I've talked about that a lot too, but he talked a lot about all the drug use, recreational drug use. It's a party scene. The bodybuilding world is essentially a big gay prostitution ring and a big party drug ring. That's what it is. That's what it's about. So people who start saying, oh man, I want to go get involved in hardcore bodybuilding, are you really sure you want to do that? You might want to think this through. You might want to look at what's really going on before you commit yourself to this lifestyle. And that's fine. If that's a lifestyle that you're content with, that's what you really want, okay. But if that doesn't sound fun to you, I'm going to recommend you don't dedicate your whole life to it. Don't get involved in it. Like I said, we even know Cali Muscle. He's big on YouTube now. He's making great money now. We've even seen the pictures. Even he did G4P under the name Chuck Basher. Whole lot of guys that you guys look up to on YouTube did this stuff to get there. And they either sold drugs or they sold their bodies. That's how they got where they are. We've discussed names on this stuff before. That's what bodybuilding is about. That's what it is. That's bodybuilding, guys. That's hardcore bodybuilding. It's a hardcore lifestyle on multiple levels. I'm going to recommend that you don't get involved in it at all. And so now you've got someone else telling their stories on YouTube. It's not just me talking about it. Now we got Seth Rogen Bodybuilding talking about it. And there's been enough other people now. It's starting to kind of come out. Maybe a lot of you kids out there will start to understand when I call bodybuilding gay, I'm not making fun of it. I am being serious. I'm just being honest. It is. Bodybuilding is a big gay party lifestyle. That's what it is. That's what it is. And if you're going to get involved with it, you better be comfortable with that, because that's what it is. Best of luck to you. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.